Welcome to New Realities. My name is Alan Steinfeld, and tonight I'm doing a show that I've wanted to do for a long time. It'll be a panel on physical immortality. I have a few different groups here that represent different points of view. So let's just jump into it. I'll introduce the guests, and then we'll just kick off the discussion. To my right here, I have Jim Stroll and Bernadine from People Unlimited. They're an organization out of Scottsdale, Arizona, and their basic philosophy and premise is that you can live forever in this body. You really, really can.
That's right.
And you need a community of people around you to help that, and we'll get into that aspect of that. On my left is Tirza Mussaieff, and she just presented at a conference that Dr. Jerry Epstein gave on immortality, imagination, and spirit. And she comes from a Kabbalistic tradition of immortality, physical immortality. And then to Tirza's left is Dr. Jerry Epstein, who is bringing this whole idea of physical immortality back into public view, and with a real focus on different aspects of that and different traditions.
Well,
yes.
Actually, I think I didn't. When you said we have differing points of view.
Yes.
I think we have the same point of view.
Yes.
Coming at it from our individual directions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that we're all meeting in a common ground. So I have something particular to present that I had in mind for today.
Okay.
In this whole panoply, and I think Tirza does, and Bernadine and Jim do.
Well, you're absolutely right. It is the idea that we can live in this body. This body was made to live forever.
We're all in agreement, you see.
We're in agreement with
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
That's just rare to get people together who just agree with that.
Yeah. Well, we just got out of the institution, so we got it.
No. But let's start over here, because these, I mean, and then we'll get to what your presentations are, because I get very excited, and I think you will, to hear these guys express about what they're building as far as a community, about supporting each other, and how actually their cells of the body ignite when they acknowledge the fact that this is possible.
Absolutely.
So Jim, you want to just talk about that transition where you woke up to this truth.
Well, first of all, I want to say how excited I am to be alive and how happy I am to be with other physically immortal people on this panel. And thank you, Jerry. I feel just the way you do. We're coming at this from different directions, but have the same common purpose, and that's the most exciting thing of all, that we're people here together that really want the same end, to end death on this planet, because it is our worst enemy. I'll begin by saying that I think together, we have the power of death. I experienced over death.
Yes.
Yes, we have the power over death. Thank you.
Okay.
We have the power.
Well, we thought we had the same point of view anyway.
Well, if you don't have
the power over death.
If you don't have the power of death, then you don't have the power of immortality.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you have the power. So consequently, we have the power over sickness. We have the power over poverty. We have the power over aging. It covers the whole spectrum of living. And that's
the power of the mind, though? Or how's that? Where's that power come from?
It comes from every cell and atom of our body. I think we're mind all over. I mean, I want to clear one thing real fast here for anybody that might get a misinterpretation of who Bernie and I are, because we speak so physical, and we talk about physical immortality, and they'll sometimes say, well, we're leaving out the spirit and so forth.
Or the soul.
Or the soul. On the contrary, we're just saying that the body is the source of the energy. The body is the source of the spirit. Without the body, you can create a nice life. You can create a great life. You can create loving people around you, a great house, many great things. But if you don't have your body, you can't enjoy them. So this is what we're saying here. The body is the source, and it's fantastic then that you can. It's fantastic then that you can be so alive. I think then the body so often lacks the fire, and to me the spirit, the soul, is the fire of the flesh, that the flesh manifests the extraordinary aliveness out of the body.
The body manifests the aliveness.
That's right.
That other people see as spirit or soul.
Exactly.
I think we might get some disagreement, but maybe not. So that's a good way to begin. I understand that point of view. The other aspect you just might want to bring in is the group support of the community around you. Then talk about how you're building that community.
Yeah, okay, well, we're really dedicated to that because we feel you have to have an environment that's different than the same old death-oriented environment that we're all so used to, that all you hear is death, all you hear is the programming of death. We're all programmed to die. When you're born and come out of the womb, you're not going, wow, I'm waiting for death, I'm waiting for the afterlife. I mean, you're fresh, you're new. All you feel is being alive and moving your arms and your legs around, and you're taught. Then you learn death. You're taught. You learn it. We're brainwashed. We're brainwashed to die. So.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bernie.
Well, the thing is that being physically immortal, you need to be surrounded by people who feel the same way, because most of the people in the world are death-oriented. Yeah. And they believe they have to die, that the body has to die, and we're just discovering so much about the physical body. We're taking the mystery out of being able to be alive and not have to go the way of death. And the longer I'm here, the better I feel. Yeah. The more intelligent I am. Yeah. Being physically immortal changes our whole person. We become a person we've never been before. And I love that. I love to see other people become that which they've never been before. We're here to raise people so high that they can see forever.
Let me just add one point to this too, because Bernie and I don't know everything there is about living, and this is why we need other people, because out of that we have a collective, new intelligence, a new gene pool to pull from of deathless intelligence that we inspire each other to new thought, new ideas. So you might say, together we have a higher power all the time.
We're greater than who we are individually.
Exactly. And this is just a real thing, and so it's not a weakness to need other people. It's actually a strength. But it's important to get that we do need each other, and that we quit discarding each other, and we quit de-evaluating our bodies. Yeah.
The whole reality is, for me, is that I'm not enough for myself. I'm not just Bernadine as an individual. I'm good who I am. I'm great. I like that. But I'm not enough. There are people here that have something to offer that I don't. Offer. It doesn't mean I'm lesser or more or anything, but it's just that that's the way it is. And we need to recognize the value of each person. Every person is so valuable that are really living, really walking free of death. That's where the real value is at, because then you're going to have that person with you forever.
And you can count on them, and they're there.
So we travel to meet more people who want to be alive, and we want to unite them. We have a tremendous already like-minded community in Scottsdale. It's not a commune. It's not a kibbutz or anything like that. It's a people who are involved in the community but are dedicated to being physically immortal. Every week we have events there twice a week and have over 175 people.
We'll get to that more. I just want to hear a little bit about Tirza and Jerry's response to that, and also your feeling about achieving. I mean, I know you studied the Kabbalistic tradition, Tirza, and there is references to people achieving. I mean, I went to that, what is that, the Kabbalah Center, and they shout out physical immortality at the end of their service.
I like it.
They do. They shout it out. And in Hebrew and in English.
In the Hebraic tradition, the way I learned it, the most important precept is to love everybody as yourself. Yes. And the whole Bible is a way to teach you how to do that. And
are there codes then in the Bible, you feel that?
The Bible, the way to look at it, there are 4 ways, pardes. There's a manifest, there's a latent, there's the allegory, and there's a secret. And it's a real secret. It's a secret how to decode the universe. And originally in the Bible we're meant to live forever, and God wants us to live forever. In the Garden of Eden, we were living forever. We had everything.
And what happened? How did we fall out of the garden?
We were seduced and tempted by doubt.
By doubt. By doubt.
The tree of the forbidden fruit is a tree of duality. It's saying good and no. good and bad.
Good and bad.
And we're constantly judging ourselves. If we're judging ourselves, you can be sure we are judging others.
Yeah.
I'm tall, I'm small, I'm big, I'm good, I'm not, he's fat, it's cold, it's hot, it's good, it's bad. We are constantly judging. As long as we're judging, we're in separation. And as long as we're separated, we cannot achieve immortality. If I hurt you,
That is so right.
and if I get that I'm hurting myself when I hurt you, if I don't respect you, I'm not respecting myself.
Right.
If I'm robbing someone, I'm robbing myself.
Yeah.
If we all realize that, the economy would have a whole different. You know, like we're all the time afraid that everybody is going to take advantage.
Right.
The banks, the big institutions, our money is disappearing.
Yeah.
In Mount Sinai, after we ate from the fruit, it took 20 generations to fix that, to rectify that. And we received the light, the Torah, the law, because we were united again.
So we have to unite our culture, is what you're saying. We have to get rid of this old death culture, as you guys talk about, and create a new culture that's based on life itself.
We were so united that everybody relied on everybody else. People were supporting each other physically, emotionally, in every way, holding each other. The lame could walk, the blind could see. Everything was healed, and people didn't have to die. The experience was so ecstatic that we did kind of die for a second. We didn't really die. Our soul departed from the ecstasy.
What? Oh, from the ecstasy,
but
because they
came back. The angels
something.
were hugging us, and we came back.
Okay, that's one interpretation. No, that's okay. That's okay. No, I think Jerry, though. No, go ahead,
I
finish.
was in the middle.
No, that's okay. No, say. No, finish.
I was in the middle of ecstasy.
Okay, yeah, I know. You left us for a second.
Not MDMA.
Okay, Abraham Maslow says, as a human race, when we approach a peak experience, we recoil.
We recoil.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the personality disappears. I think the ego mind, when we reach a peak experience of our own elated self, this thing that's been in the way of the judgment disappears. That might be what you mean.
I lost it.
All right. Right, we'll get back to it.
We got the point, though.
But I think, Jerry, you've studied this form, the Kabbalist, but you also...
Tirza and I had the same teacher.
Right, but also talk about the actually your physical experience.
I'd be glad to.
Because I think that's what will bring this together, because these guys they have sensations of this, and I'm happy to hear what you have to say.
Yes, I think the contribution that I mentioned before that I'd like to make is that my training, my background is in the mind and the body. Okay. So I originally was trained as a psychiatrist, a psychoanalyst, and so on. So I've been in many decades in the area of the mind and its application to the physical. So what happens is that the linchpin out of which it all generates is the mind and its intimate connection with the body. And as
when you say mind, though, what do you mean?
The mental life.
Okay, what we're thinking, basically.
What we're thinking.
Okay, what we're thinking.
And the mental life is and what Jim said, it starts with body. Yeah. Because it's without this, there's no spirit.
Right. We can agree on that.
Yes, there's no question.
Okay.
Okay. So, and of course, what keeps this body alive? Yeah. Well, from this perspective, and the freeing aspect of this is that it starts with your own mental life. So you don't have to depend on any outside source.
You have your own inner source.
That's your own inner resources, and
that are feeding your body.
That are feeding your body and are keeping the cells alive.
Okay.
And so we know what the ancients probably didn't know, and where they were not able, in my mind, to put it all together as we're able to do now. I think it's the time. Is that we understand the physiology so deeply. The Western medical approach over the last 400 years has revealed the physiological processes by which the body operates, and so. Yeah. As Bernadine said, and Jim said that when you're born, you're programmed not to, so you're born with this and the false belief of mass consciousness is inculcated that you must die, that it's inevitable. Right. We're reversing that.
How?
Okay. And so how is that the physiology that is embedded in that is that the physiology must decay. You have to decay.
That's the philosophy.
That's the philosophy.
That's
that
the
it's inevitable that you'll age and decay.
Yeah.
Right.
Now we have a means to reverse that physiology.
We have you have the means. Okay.
Very simple means.
Okay.
There are many ways. I mean, I've devised 27 different approaches that may appeal to different people. So, you know, but the approach essentially...
Well, tell these guys and the audience, because I think we want to hear what these are.
It's interesting.
Well, but I think what you have to understand, I'll give you one idea. The body operates according to a physiological principle called fight or flight.
Okay.
When there's a perceived emergency, the body responds by pouring out a lot of chemicals to face this supposed threat. 99.9% of what we experience as emergencies are false. So, but emergency means that there's a threat to my existence. And so in the false emergency, I project into a time, place, and circumstance that doesn't exist, that there's an emergency.
Right,
I have a misconception.
Right.
Or a misperception.
Right.
So in India, the famous story is two guys are walking through the forest. One guy recoils back, he's fearful. The other one says, "What's wrong?" He said, "There's a snake over there, there's a cobra." The other guy looks, goes over there, picks it up, he says, "Not a cobra, it's a rope." So you misperceived the situation, and on that, you created an emergency state for yourself that you were going to be bitten and die.
Right.
You went and projected into a time, place, and circumstance that doesn't exist.
So those emergencies are putting chemicals of death into the body, you're saying?
Well, they put chemicals into the body because it's a natural fight or flight.
Right.
In the false emergencies, which are 99.9% at the time, there's no fight or flight. You're sitting in the middle of your living room and you're waiting for that guy to call or for that girl to call. You're waiting for the phone call. It doesn't, what's going to happen to me? She didn't call, he didn't call, what's going to be, right?
So that's stressing the body.
Okay, so now you're in an emergency state.
Right.
Now the chemicals are being poured in. You have all these hormones are being poured into the system, insulin and glycogen and steroids, and everything's being poured in. The muscles are tightening up. Everything is being poured in, and you're a virtual pharmacy there, and you have a feeling of unease, anxious, worried, scared, right?
Yeah, okay.
There's no actual outlet. So now, what happens to those things that are there? They can't get removed. So they have to get removed from the body, so they break down, and they become poisons.
Okay.
And when they become poisons in the system, it calls on the body's systems to get rid of it. So you're calling on the lymphatic system and the immune system to get rid of all this stuff.
Right.
Urinary system, and you go through all these kinds of what's called symptoms: pain, urination, diarrhea, nausea. All these things are happening, but they're really cleansing the body.
Right. They're trying to get rid of the toxins.
Getting rid of the toxins.
So
what happens is you're feeling unease, and there's an adaptation that begins to take place to come back to balance. So you're getting rid of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Fine, you did it.
Okay.
But if you keep creating the emergencies, you keep pouring in the chemical resources and all that stuff and the uneasy feelings, you're calling on the body again. Well, you're calling on the body over and over and over again all the time through your repetitive, habitual way of operating in the world, and the body is decaying because these organ systems are getting tired.
Right.
They're aging, they're wearing out, your energy is being siphoned off.
Gotcha.
So the body is decaying, and as it decays, it breaks down. And that's often the time when the guys in the white coats come in and start naming it by different disease names which don't exist really.
Right.
And so it's all decay.
Yeah.
Now the question is, can that be reversed?
Okay.
The answer is yes. Everybody here is all about this.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all knowing that we can reverse the physiology, because if it can decay, it can also build up.
So they did give us that key, because I think that's what your whole institute's about, is reversing
the decaying process.
Yeah.
One of the ways, which is one of many ways, is to ask yourself when the emergency is there. You use that as the point of looking at yourself. You use that not as an enemy, but as a signal.
What do I need to look at in my life?
It's a reminder. It's a prompt.
Okay.
It's asking you to look. So you ask yourself, frankly, is this a true emergency or not? Is this a true emergency?
Yeah.
Or a false emergency? True emergency is this is the ideal. a gun is to my head, and somebody is about to pull the trigger. We'll go that we could say is a true emergency.
That will actually
be
fight or flight right there.
Right there.
Yeah,
now,
sure.
Now, let's take that as the model. That's a true emergency.
Okay.
Everything else is not.
Okay.
Everything else, it has to be life-threatening to this degree, or else it's false.
I get you.
So you ask yourself, is this a true or false emergency? I didn't get the phone call, my bank account went, whatever it is. Is this a true or false emergency? The answer has to be, in honesty, false. Right?
So 99% of the time, probably more.
So you're telling yourself, oh, this is a false emergency, it has no value.
Yeah.
And the emotion that is fueling it, the distressing emotions are the fuel stoking that untruth, are coming along, and you're telling yourself, the anxiety and the worry are fuel for the untruth that has no value.
Okay.
So none of this that's going on has value. Just that. We're only dealing with that.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That alone, your physiology starts to reverse.
By telling you, like, this is not true, I don't need to be putting these toxins into my body.
You don't have to go that far. All you have to do is say, is this a true or false emergency?
Okay.
The answer is false, and it has no value, and the emotion has no value, it's adding nothing. Your body's physiology begins to return back to an organically normal state of being. It starts to lift.
By just acknowledging the truth of the situation.
So the truth, as it says in the ancient wisdom, the truth shall set you free. It sets your physiology on a reverse course. And then now you're starting to get, and we can see that because we can measure it.
How do you measure it?
White cells increase, red cells increase, hemoglobin increases, oxygen consumption increases, respiration increases, blood pressure becomes normal, pulse rates become normal, all kinds of respiratory rates become normal, everything begins to heal up.
So if you can be detached in a way from the dramas of the world, these self-created dramas, your body will start to...
Not can be. We have the capacity to be, at that moment, using that difficulty to remind us to look at it and ask the question.
Okay.
Simply that.
That's really good. That gets us sort of to like point zero in a sense. And then I think what happened to you, what I remember you telling me, Bernadine, was when you actually acknowledged the truth of immortality, maybe it was you, Jim, the cells of your body ignited on another level that you tell that story because I think it's important.
They emit light.
Yeah, but
they emit light.
She's had an experience.
Well,
yeah, maybe you too.
When I first heard about physical immortality, I felt it. It was like I heard an individual speaking on the radio, and he said that the body doesn't have to die. And I always thought death was not right for the physical body. So when I heard that, I just like, yes, that's me. That's who I am. That's what I feel. And that's been my way ever since. I mean, I was like 22 years old then, and it just sounded good to me.
But there was a transmission you felt, or just
I felt it all through. Of course, you feel it all through your body. You know.
Well, Chuck actually felt cells popping.
He did.
You see what happens as you reverse you begin to sense it in your body. You sense the cells. There's an organic sense of something changing.
I so agree with you on this, getting rid of this decaying of the body from fight or flight. I mean, we tell people, for one thing, it has its practical purposes, because people spend so much time in the drama, of it all, and and they can't even focus on things that need to be focused on for the propelling of their life in a greater way. And so we're always telling them, hey, get out of the drama. Get out of and focus on being physically immortal. Focus on the things that really matter. There's so many things to get distracted on in life, and so we constantly encourage people to focus on being the best you can be every day. We have to reinvent ourselves.
But you see, the emergency.
We have to reinvent ourselves every day.
The emergency, the drama, the emergency states never stop.
They don't.
Because this man-made world that we live in, the death world, is constituted and it's created to bring the drama and the emergency states. You face it because they need to happen. They have to happen. It's the way the man-made this world is the time-space world is constructed. Right. It brings the stressors all the time. So then you respond to that as an emergency, because it's a threat to your existence and the whole process. Then you begin to do your work.
Right, and I think some of the great books that are out there, what you're talking about, is they show us that the drama of this world is sort of insignificant. Talk about that from that point of view.
Okay, so I'd like to go back to also about 40 years ago when I studied with Leonard Orr, and he said that the thought that death is inevitable has killed more people than all the wars in the world together.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And during a rebirthing process, I was very underweight, and by releasing some tension, on the instant, I put on about 5 pounds.
In one instant.
Instantly.
Some people would say that's impossible, but it wasn't impossible.
No.
It happened.
Yeah.
Of course it happened.
I mean, I'm saying that the miracles of the body are fantastic.
And I agree with Bernadine. I feel much happier and better now than when I was 20 or a little child, much younger in my mind and in my thinking.
But you see, it starts from the mental life and the body in a mutual participatory state of being. So,
I think that actually the stress of life is getting excuse me, it's getting further and further away from me. It's like I'm not experiencing it like I was. I know what the stress of life is like, and it's not nice. But this is where I think it's so important to surround yourself. We're in this world. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not afraid of people in this world that believe they're going to die, and so forth. But we're in this world, but we're bringing about a new world within this world of human beings that are moving together. It's an environment that you can live with. We want to create a world that we can live in here, that we're not going to be constantly stressed and constantly sick, constantly all these things that we have to keep fighting off and moving to. I find today, I just don't get sick anymore. It's just not happening to me. I've already set up a standard in my body, and I'm with people that also stir me up. They give me a lot to go on. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm inspired. I'm inspired to stay alive, and I'm not inspired to become youthful. I'm not interested in. I experienced my youth. I don't want to go back there. Enough already. I'm not interested in going old. I'm interested in being alive and really feeling the freedom from death, and I am experiencing that.
Getting better every day.
Yeah.
You see, I think these guys have in place a mechanism that it transcends the stress that you're talking about. I mean, you're getting people to a point where they can become like that.
That is so
but
good.
That's already in place here, right? I mean, so
the focus is on creating Eden.
Eden.
Here on Earth, and we're all in agreement that we're creating Eden again. We're going. It's here. It's right here.
My focus is like joining the tree of life.
What is the tree of life to you?
The tree of life is everything is good, and you live forever.
There's no duality.
The angel of death has no foothold in it.
Right.
And for me, it's connecting to God, connecting to consciousness, connecting to the light. And when I have a difficulty or distress, or people that I work with, many times I talk with God. I call on God to show
whatever
me
that is.
Whatever that is.
But
consciousness.
I think the difference for us is, and I respect that, is that we connect with each other. And we call upon each other.
So if you're getting a stressful situation, that's
for me personally, part of my world was for me that was a big expansion for me, was getting out of the God consciousness, an old world to me, and really realizing who is in charge. God, it was said in the scriptures that God, that He created us in His image. So, and He's immortal. Right. So who really is to be in charge? Who really? Then we're immortal. And in a sense, you say we're the God.
But God is you. It's you. It's you. It's
but my talk is with you, as with other human beings.
With I'm
not in the God consciousness anymore. I don't have a God. I feel that's why it's so important we reinvent ourselves in these areas, and get out of anything that has been old that could decay our bodies, and to new
like
ideas.
The stress that Gerald talked about.
Really empowering each other, because together then we have the power over death. But we have not taken that power in our own bodies. We have not seen ourselves as that type of divine being. We've given our power out somewhere else, to gods and to everything else but ourselves. So we're encouraging people to give their power. I'm only making that distinction.
I'm not talking about some other God in some other place. I'm talking about the God in all of us.
As you mentioned, divinity.
Okay. Well, I was just making that distinction for me. I wasn't saying. I want that to be clear.
That's how
it's been very.
And I feel anytime we digress from our essence, we're not true to our essence, we get some sort of distress. And when that augments, it develops into a symptom. And I do all the time, at least I try, a check with my essence. And am I saying what's really true for me? Like not to fall from that. The minute I fall from that, I'm in distress. It's like if you have a little speck of dust in your eyeball, you know how irritating it is. It's the same thing with our essence. The minute we digress, as a fine line as a hair, it disturbs our whole being.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing in reference to all this, that for me, I feel that it's really important for us to really receive ourselves.
What does that mean?
We are the ones in charge. We're in charge here. I'm not looking to God. But I am looking to people who are experiencing this. That's where I experience the reality. I feel as long as there is still in that, there can be a denying of the body. We don't. In other words, receive ourselves. We don't receive one another. It's just like you see a person who wins a race. Say they're running and they win the race. How many times do you hear them say, "Thank God"? You know, thank God for this. And really, they were the ones
Bernadine,
running.
here again, I'm not talking God out
I know
there.
that. I know
we
that.
are all suppressed gods. We are hiding from our own selves.
Well, I'm Bernadine.
See, what I want
She's thanking herself.
I'm Bernadine. I'm thanking me for waking up.
What I wanted to focus on are the means that we have to come back to ourselves, because we're, as you said, most people got to, have the belief they're going to die, so they're dismembered, so they're at odds with themselves.
Exactly.
So they are looking for attachment in the world to save them. They're looking for that. Right. They can't accept that they themselves are the saviors of
or
themselves.
in God, or in this
whatever it is.
being.
They're looking for an attachment.
Exactly.
But the truth of that matter is that we're born with the impulse to attach. Jung called it the impulse to worship. We're here to attach.
Well,
so we want to divorce ourselves from those attachments that are really subduing us and taking away our energy.
For sure.
And bring that back to ourselves so that we remember ourselves. We put ourselves back together.
And how do we do that?
So I gave you one way, but another way is to take away your attachment to time.
Okay.
So you remove your attachment to time. So you stop. One of the convenient ways is to stop what I call futurizing.
Okay. Which
means that you watch your thought process and you find yourself thinking into the future, because most of us think into the future most of the time.
And we're not present.
Of course not, because when you're thinking into the future, you're thinking about something into a time, place, and circumstance, again, that doesn't exist. So it's uncreated, but we treat it as though it's here now.
And that creates other mental images that
not only that, but your body, when you do that, your body begins to break down again. You see, you're siphoning off the energies, and the body begins to go into its decaying process again. You're releasing life force. And by stepping away and detaching from that attachment to goals, future outcome, predictions, results, you're coming back to the present, you're coming back to yourself, you're remembering yourself. And when you do, everything begins to build up, and there's a greater organization, and then the aliveness begins, and the life force, you're opening yourself up to a life force that begins to infuse you. You recognize, as they have recognizing, that we're not a closed system that inevitably has to decay. That we're opening ourselves up to a source of energy that comes to us and that can
feeds us continuously,
because it never ends. that energy. Now you see the scientific idea of a closed system, and that energy is finite.
Yeah, and it decays eventually. Entropy.
Totally. There's endless energy. Endless energy. The more we use, the more we'll find.
That's
and the more we generate, the more we'll have more to generate.
Exactly.
That's what our bodies are about.
It can't wear out.
There's never shortage.
We're building a spiritual stock portfolio.
Even in physics,
this thing about
energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
Right.
It's all
That's
there
always
all the
there
time.
all the time.
And this whole thing about attachment is so important because and that was our point about God. We don't have an issue with people who have God, but what we find out is these attachments get there, and then those people don't need me, don't even need themselves. They don't value themselves as much.
That's not what I meant.
I'm not saying that.
They know that, but
I'm not saying that.
talking about
I know what
some
you meant.
spiritual people.
I'm speaking this as an issue because we run into this all the time. People who actually will say they want to live forever, but they don't, first of all, have that real value of themselves. They have and they have these attachments, and many times to a God, and they have attachment to a God. They don't need me. So we've got to come to the place here on this earth that we need each other more than anything, and that's the value of human life. And from there, we'll expand, and we'll have a dedication and an incentive to really be there for each other. But as long as you have an exit, we call it exits to death.
An exit strategy.
Yeah. You know, a guy will say, I'm physically immortal, but I'm going to buy this grave plot just in case.
Right, or this insurance policy.
Yeah, so this insurance, well, you can fool your mind, but you can't fool your whole, you can fool your brain.
Yeah.
Okay, you fool your brain.
Yeah.
The mind is, to me, is different. The mind is in every cell of the body.
Right.
You know, and you can fool your brain, but you can't fool your whole body, your whole mind. So your mind's saying, oh, he's buying a grave plot. He's going to die.
Well, that sort of goes along with what Jerry said. You're planting
so your immune
seed.
system's going to go down.
Self-deception and a lie.
That's right.
And it's an error that you're making about yourself.
Right.
By going out. And one of the things I mentioned at the conference yesterday, what's so important about this process that we're going through?
Yeah, the process of what?
Of never dying.
Yeah, this process we're creating.
And of staying within this. Okay. To me, it's the way to salvation for everybody. It's the way to maintain an Earth, a planet that becomes Edenic, a planet where everybody lives.
Yeah.
Because with it, and with this kind of quality that we develop, and the immortal presence, life is so precious that we're going to see to it that everybody else lives.
That's why these guys created a community.
Yeah, because we're not going to be engaged. We don't want people to die.
Exactly.
So we're not interested in war or in violence and those kinds of things that lead to destruction and decay.
Exactly.
That's so
We
good.
want to bring everybody into a life-giving environment.
That's right.
So that not only saves us, all of us, saves the planet too. So we stop destroying it.
No, but I'm hearing a lot of, I mean, it's great, all this agreement. I mean, it's basically is agreement that we have to really, really honor ourselves, our physical body, our mind, our valuable mind, to expand upon the creation every minute. And to really love and honor each other is sort of like these pathways to what you're saying.
Immortality.
My teacher said, somebody asked her, our teacher?
Yeah.
What was the greatest? Her name was Colette.
Yes.
Oh, what's the greatest problem in the world? What's the single greatest problem in the world? She said seriousness. It's the first thing. That's the serious. Of course, that's the decaying process.
Yeah.
Because you're making up all kinds of stories about emergencies and so on.
Right.
Secondly, she said self-image. Self-image. And what does that mean? That means that's a reflection of your body, how you appear.
And a judgment on that self.
Judgment on that self-image that Bernadine was talking about. A judgment on that image.
We come back to judgment.
You see, it comes back to that critical, subjective judgment of damning ourselves because we've been programmed. And so we have an imagery exercise of closing your eyes and looking into the mirror and seeing yourself naked into the mirror. And with your forefinger, correct anything that needs to be corrected.
Create it differently in your mind.
Absolutely. You could make so, and after you've put away what needs to be corrected, you turn the mirror over. On the other face, you see this new you, your new self-image. And you push it out of the mirror to your right. And you have now, in consciousness, planted a new seed in the womb of consciousness. And when you plant that seed in the womb of consciousness and you perceive it in the womb of consciousness, you're gestating it.
Right.
So what you perceive, what you conceive, you perceive.
Yeah.
You give birth, and that becomes birth.
It becomes the birth of the self,
instead of
regenerated self.
Instead of the conception we've been planted in our consciousness, you must die. So we plant seeds of conceptions that we must die. We perceive it in consciousness, and we die. You see, because what you conceive, you birth.
Well, there's a couple questions I want to throw out here because I think people watching might have some other ideas. I mean, first, like in some traditions around the world, there are the exercises you do. There's the Qigong that creates longevity and immortality in the Chinese tradition. And the other question I want to just throw out there is many people say, you know, the body's part of nature, and it's obvious that nature does decay. I'm not taking that point of view, but because I think there's something different about the human body. But it seems like nature, you know, lives on the decay of the system. So
if when we don't decay, nature doesn't decay. It's a mutual participating process.
But nature, you know, breaks down things to make soil so other things can grow. I'm just saying.
But
well,
we have evidence of people in India living 300-400 years, 3,000 years.
Okay.
We have evidence in the Bible of at least 7 people. Some are women that never
died.
The body never decayed. They went up with their body, and they can come and go as they please.
You're holding an idea that if that the nature has to decay. That's a conception. It has to.
No, we're the only. First of all, we're totally different. The human being is totally different from anything in the universe.
Yeah, that's
anything
what I
in
wanted
the universe.
to hear.
We lead the universe, and that's why we've got to take the leadership. We're the only species. We're only creature in the universe that has a cerebral cortex that's able to innovate. Every other creature cannot do this. This sets us aside.
New thought.
Yes, new thought and manifest it.
Okay.
And this is the important thing to me, and this is why we have to give this credence to our bodies and this validity, that we quit being take aside. You know, in the scriptures they say a man must die. There's the first death that he must have. I can't say it verbatim. Man died the first death. He won't have to die the second. Okay. What does this mean? Most people say like it's proof that you have to die. No, it's like Jerry was talking about. There's a death to take place. A death to an old life. A death to an old world. That we bring forth a new world. But also as human beings.
Won't pick up. Lose that 7 seconds.
Thank you very much. Okay. Jim, what were you saying?
Okay, so I was saying that because we have the cerebral cortex,
talk to the camera too.
And the only creature on Earth in the universe that really has, we'll say universe, and on Earth here that has that, we're able to innovate. We're able to create. We have the power of creation. We have the power consequently over death, I was saying. So, but the other, you might say the downside of that is we also have a strong tendency as human beings to get stuck in our glue, to get stuck in making monuments to our stuck places. So we have to constantly, this is why it's important to have other people that stimulate you out of those stuck places.
Right.
But this is what's so marvelous about who we are
as human beings.
As human beings, yes. The human being is the greatest creature on Earth, and we need to see that, not have false humility about it, yet but it goes past having any ego about it. It's that taking on who we are and being who we're, the noble creatures that we're supposed to be to each other.
And stop killing each other.
Stop killing each other. Right. We can.
Stop killing each other.
You know, there's an article in Time Magazine. It was right on the front page. I don't know if you saw it. The human being has the power to be the most noble creature on the earth and the most evil creature on earth, or the most evil. Well, we have a choice here. You know, I choose to be the noble human being I am with other noble human beings. We can't worry about the ones that don't want to be that. You know, we can have a love and feeling for them, but we got to move on. We're out to find people who really want to be those noble human beings, who want to live and create a world without death.
Nobility, that's the key to this empowerment of the self that transcends, you know, the pettiness of duality and sickness and judgment. And so, I mean, what would you like to leave people with?
My telephone number.
Okay, besides your telephone number, there you go. No, but and what would you like to put out there? Because I think we are planting seeds here. You know, people maybe watching this program and never even heard of it or even considered that it was true. I mean, my teacher said your heart is a forever muscle. He said that. You know?
There you go.
It's 24/7.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, and we are these forever beings. I know we are.
Well, I think my work is focused on so much on this point. Teilhard de Chardin, who's the great Christian mystic of the 20th century, he said something that I mainly agree with. He said, death is the last enemy to be defeated.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't see death necessarily as an enemy. I see it as the challenge, because it's an inner state that we have to face and come to grips with.
It's an inner state.
Right. Now what we're doing is we're reversing the attachment to that idea that death is inevitable. And in my book, Healing into Immortality, I wrote that as one of the 12 major mass conscious false beliefs. And it's the major one that has to be, I think, overturned and reversed. So death can be overcome.
It can be.
Yes, and that's what we're all here saying and understanding to be the, and what we've all presented today, in whatever way the audience has looked at it. We've been rational, sober, reasonable, well presented, and if you will, logical.
Yeah.
In that sense, that there hasn't been any kind of kookiness or craziness about what we've been talking about today.
It's very
not
practical.
at all.
No.
You know what I would like, Alan?
Yes.
I'd like to see a program like that all the time on television instead of all the killings and westerns and violence.
Well, they do programs twice a week on that.
And this is
He
like
means a TV show like
as a
that.
TV.
when I open the TV, I'd like to see people talk about things like that rather than violence and killing and wars.
Yes,
and,
for sure.
That's the new society
sure.
that
And
we're building.
that's one of the ways to overcome death.
Yeah, by the retraining this society that is about killing and warring.
Our polluted thoughts is polluting this planet. These polluted movies are polluting the planet. If we change that into good things to watch for children, for us, for anybody, we can change everybody's mind. The media is an extraordinarily powerful tool.
Yes. Well,
See, I think if we got up every morning, and each morning we opened our eyes and we each imaged for a moment an immortal community in the world.
An immortal community in the world.
I like that.
Seeing everybody and seeing all those beings and all the souls in the world as immortal.
Well,
forever.
these guys in Scottsdale have that immortal community. They have hundreds of people gathered.
Yes, and so from that
Come
little,
and see us.
From that little acorn,
Yeah.
something grows.
It does. We are planting a seed, and you know, we'll get to you. But I would love to have a New Realities whole conference.
We've been talking about that. We should do it.
have with different aspects of immortality.
I love it.
Ore and Indian people that are hundreds of years old, and so I want to put that out there as a possibility.
I was telling Jim, I've developed a community in New York.
Oh, you have developed a community in New York. Well,
and there may be a connection that could
You know, my great-grandfather was a Kabbalist, and he was in Samarkand. This is like 1870 or 80. There was a woman who physically died, and they called him. He whispered something in her ear, and she rose from the dead, and he told her she was going to go to Jerusalem and do certain things, and after that she will die, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, you don't have to. The thing about doctors is they tell you you're going to die. You know,
you see the odd thing is in that profession they plant the seed of death.
I know
and
they do.
Jim, you've been talking about money. We need money for all this project. My grandfather manifested gold, pure gold, from an ancient Kabbalah manuscript, which was very simple to do and put together.
There are technologies and secrets that have been discovered over time that do access a part of creation that brings something into manifestation.
It's all coming out now.
And it's all coming out. I mean, the thing about doctors is the joke about the guy who goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, you know, you have 2 days to live. And the guy says, well, I can't pay you. The guy goes, okay, I'll give you another few days.
You got 3 days.
Yeah. So it's like we have to get over the thought, and what you said in some of your talk is the death sentence we're on.
The sentence of death,
But so
get off of death row.
Get off death row.
So just
we need to get off of death
tell
row.
them, Bernadine, express, because we're summing up here, and tell these people what you've discovered, what they need to know to be revitalized.
Well, I would just like to tell everybody that face being physically, your body being physically immortal, and avoid death. That's what I'd like. That's what I'd like to say.
And that you've been on this planet for 71 years.
Not old, been here 71 years. That's right.
71 years.
It's just a start.
71 years is a term of death. We got to stop that.
Yes. So stop counting.
Yeah.
Stop counting. We're forever being.
Exactly.
In the Bible, King David dies. He dies because he counted the community. You see, and
he counted what?
He counted. He
counted his years.
Did a census.
Oh, he counted.
Stop counting.
Stop
the numbers.
Because the numbers are a part of the comparison.
Yes, and Hitler put the numbers on the arms.
Oh, right, the judgment. Okay.
Yeah. So, Jim, you want to pull it all together?
Well, yes. I'll say first of all that again, thank you for having this, and I feel like all of you do, that we need to have more of these times together and see more of what being deathless is in the world. And I want to say to everybody that open yourself up for being the noble creatures that you really are. Don't be afraid of waking up every morning and saying, hey, I'm physically immortal, because you have nothing to lose but death. And I agree with Jerry. I agree with Jerry, too, here, that we're talking about something that's not hocus pocus, that's not a bunch of ridiculous stuff here. We're talking real common sense. It's ridiculous to waste your life. It's ridiculous to be born and collect a few things and then die and think that's all that there is to life. There's more to life, and it's endless. And to open yourself up for that, because again, you have nothing to lose but death.
It's the real common sense approach to life.
It's the common sense.
The real common sense approach.
And you, Bernadine, do you have one more thing? Because you're great.
Well, I was going to say something, but then
Please.
I got all
just
excited
say
about
it.
what Jim was saying.
Say it. Go ahead.
And well, I don't remember.
No, just
but anyway.
express yourself. Go ahead. Because they have a community of people. What I love is the sociology. I keep saying that about these guys. The sociology of a community that's supporting this idea in each other.
We have the community, the metaphysics, and the means.
Well, I want
all of that together.
I want to thank all of you for bringing new ideas and new realities to the planet. And the more I gather people, get in touch with people,
I was just going to say that the real reality has been death. But now, and that's been what's been familiar to humankind, is death. But now we're making being alive familiar.
That's right.
We're putting the sound out, and people are going to hear it more and more, because we're going to stay around and we're going to be speaking it more and more. We're going to say it more and more. And it's going to become familiar about living instead of dying. People are going to become, it's not going to be so weird to them anymore.
Right. We have to change the way people think. That's what this
has
just been weird to them.
I would like to say something to everybody, to not forget, love yourself every minute, every instant, accept yourself and everyone else.
And love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
And let's make it popular to be alive.
Let's make it popular. Thank you, guys.